Welcome to the Gangcast, aka the Games and Not Games podcast. I'm Janet Garcia, and joining me, as always, is Isaiah Smith.
Hello.
Jumping in right away to the game section, I know people are wondering, with bated breath, we did not win in the game jam that we did.
No, we did not, unfortunately.
Shout out to the winners, though, you know?
Yeah, man, I guess. You know, again, I'm a hater. I love being a hater.
Okay, never mind.
I'm a hater. I'm a big hater. I love hating. It's in my blood. No, but, you know, hey, I knew going into it when I hit submit on our work simulator that it was a very small chance that we placed. But you know what? I'm still happy we submitted something. Still happy. Shout out to the people who did win and finished our ideas. But
and we got feedback on the game.
We did get feedback. They reached out to us.
Which was nice.
It was very funny.
They said, "Hey, finish your game next time." No, I'm just kidding. They were very nice.
No, I'm kidding. It was super cool. Definitely wanted to do another game jam. I'd even be down to try like other jams. Like obviously this one was like React based. I'm sure there's some other cool ones we can find that I don't know also fit our theme and who we are and what we can do pretty well. I know they haven't have like specific like storytelling ones where it's like more catered towards like writers. So maybe that could be something we look into. Like twine jams.
Yeah, because one thing I came out of this jam thinking was I wish I had more I had to do. That's definitely, yeah. You really understood my part of the project, Isaiah.
Yeah, you know.
They complimented our graphics. That was you.
They did.
That was you.
Yeah. All right, I'll take it.
Yeah, that was you. And they did look good.
It's really weird to say graphics for a game that
looks like Gmail, but it looks so much like Gmail though.
Yeah.
I thought it looked really good, yeah.
Good design. I'll take that. But yeah, that was our game jam. It was nice.
Yeah. First of many. I will say, I joked on my stream. I'm like, I do think if we place, it does not bode that well for the game industry. So I will say, like, hot take, kind of nice that we didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, no. If we placed, it would have been. I would want to see what all the other entries were. Oh man.
Yeah. Well, we'll report back on our other games that we might make. But speaking of games, we got back into Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. If you've listened to every episode we've ever done, one of those episodes referred to Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah.
Isaiah, what is Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion?
Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion is a tabletop RPG from the Gloomhaven franchise. I think it's like a more modern, maybe smaller sort of entry in the Gloomhaven line. I didn't play the original Gloomhaven, so I don't know for sure, but that's my understanding of it. And what it is you are one of or two of four potential characters in the game. We have our little figurines here. Yeah, it's tabletop, so you have your little mini. You're putting them on a board. You're moving from tile to tile. You're spawning enemies, and you have these cards that you use to essentially do your actions. An action can be move, it could be attack, it could be shoot, it could be melee, it could be a whole bunch of different things depending on what mission you're in and what the board layout is and everything like that. And so it's a very fun, I find it's very fun. I really like this game. If you haven't played a tabletop RPG, I do think it's a little meaty to get into, only in the sense that we are technically still doing the tutorial missions. Yeah. We have not done a every mission that we've done so far, the game has introduced a new mechanic that is a part of the bigger game to us. So at some point we're going to learn all the rules and then we'll really be cooking with gas. All right. We'll be zooping around, using elements to our advantage, jumping over difficult terrain and doing all this stuff.
Hey, I'm 70 hours into Persona and there's still going to be more tutorials. That's true. Sometimes you just need to take your time with the onboarding process.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
I find it, one thing I find really funny, and I'd love to hear you speak on this, is why are you, I feel like you really don't believe, or you're continuously surprised that I like this game. Do I just move my pieces bitchily, or like what's going on?
Yeah, you move that mini with real attitude.
Just the way you look at your cards, I just feel like you don't want to be here. Like,
no, I think it's that you are. So in our board game tabletop life, the two of us, I am the like rules reader, the rules consumer.
Yeah.
And then I try to then like, because a lot of times board games have like really complicated or really complexly kind of presented rules that are actually very simple rules, but they just present them in a way that's like very complicated.
I think the thing that makes tutorials and instructions so much denser in board games than like video games is like a video game can prop that up in context. You know, it's why Persona's like still doing tutorials, because they're like, well, we'll just wait until you're here.
Yeah.
And Gloomhaven, more than most board games because of the kind of game it is, lays those out slower with specific scenarios. But ultimately, it is, even though like game brochures usually will show examples, it's not like you can just be playing and like a screen will pop up and say like, go to this page to read this part or something.
Yeah.
So you really have to read it all and then play it and then kind of go back to read it. And it's like this back and forth with any game.
There's a lot of like back referencing of like things the game introduced to you contextually once you're in the moment to learn it. Whereas like you said, in a game, the game can pause and prompt you and show you a menu. You click through it, you do. It can immediately load up a scenario where it walks you through a mechanic or something. Like a board game, it's a lot tougher to do that.
Oh, and I'm the zone outer, I think is where you were going to.
Yes. And so while I'm learning these rules or trying to like understand and consume these rules to then like parse through what's actually important for us in this moment, sometimes I see, you know, you'll get on your phone, you'll start scrolling, maybe listen to like a TikTok here or there or something, you know, who knows?
I've never opened a TikTok. But I will say the thing that we've kind of like has been a pain point's a little dramatic, but a pain point is Isaiah's kind of like, hey, like you got to pay attention because we need to know how to play. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if I pay attention. Like I could look like I'm paying attention. Like why are we pretending? You know what I mean? Like I can sit here quietly and look at Isaiah as he reads a bunch of words, but I'm not understanding anything. The kind of split up that has been a little bit more helpful is if I read the stuff to you, because then we're both doing something. And I do find that I process a little deeper if I'm reading it myself.
Sure.
Because I'm like forced to process it versus also too, like, and this is not a indictment on you, you're reading the pamphlet, but it's like I need to get stuff slower and you'll just read like a paragraph. You'd be like, oh, I don't know, when in rough terrain, like you're gonna pivot to the left. If your counterparty is to the right, I'm like, I already lost you. That was too many. Like you went through like three things, and that's how it's written. But like I am like a one thing at a time. Like I'm that person, and sometimes that can be bad too, right? Like have you seen that TikTok kind of meme of, it's like POV, you're trying to fix something off YouTube, and it's like find the red switch. Don't turn it off. Good. Oh my god. If you turn it off, don't turn it back on. It's like, I'm that person who's like turning it off and, maybe I wouldn't turn it on again, but I would be like, okay, I found it. And then I'd read back, don't turn it on. Okay, cool. Like I'm doing each thing as it goes. I'm like, I'm making my own pop-up tutorial. Like I don't want to just read it and then try to replicate it. I need to do it step by step. And I'm like that with cooking too. I'm like that with everything. So like even with cooking, I usually rewrite the recipes in my own words where I can prepare in the way that I want to prepare. Because the recipe will be like, preheat the oven, now dice these potatoes. I was like, you have no idea how long it's going to take me to dice these potatoes. I need to dice the potatoes, then I can preheat the oven, and then I can do these other, or they're like, toss in 1 tablespoon of this. I'm like, whoa, where is that? Let's just have that to the side, ready to go. So, yeah.
That's so funny. Because like, I don't know.
It's not a pleasant experience.
Maybe it's like the engineering me or something, but like, I like reading, doing a full pass if I can of like the instructions or whatever. So I have like a overarching understanding of what's going to happen, and then I'll do what you do, which is go back and like more step by step through it. But like I need to step by step with the context of what's the end goal and like how we're generally getting there, so that I know that if I unplug it, don't plug it back in, kind of thing. You know what I mean? No,
I can't do that, because what'll happen is I don't actually absorb any of that information. It's just word. It's just sound. Like wah 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 wah. It's like Charlie Brown like adults. If I were to read something. I'm not fluent in Spanish. Like if I read something completely in Spanish and then it's like, what did you read? I might know like 2 parts of what I read, but I probably don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, it's nothing, which is why I'm like, well, I can pretend to listen to, I'm not going to listen to you either way. It's not because I don't want to. But that's definitely been a struggle for us playing Gloomhaven. I do think Gloomhaven, as far as tabletop RPGs, according to people that know more than us, tend to say that's like the starting point. So the starting point is hefty. There are videos that we used to go to, tutorials on YouTube that kind of do that almost like a third person's in the room, right? They're reading the rules, but then also kind of contextualizing it. So those are kind of the best of both worlds, where it has the reading thing that you want, but it has like the visuals that I benefit from. But those videos would be so long. We're finally done watching the videos. We're now good enough where we can just read the pamphlet.
Yeah, I think the videos
nice.
were really good for just like contextualizing some of the beginning earlier rules, where it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, what is line of sight? And like, the book will tell you, oh, you can draw a line from one square to another, then that's like line of sight. But like, it's not until someone shows you on their board, like the kind of overhead video feed of like, okay, this is what line of sight is, and they draw like a digital red line that shows like, oh, this is good or this is bad. Some stuff like that you just don't get to me without good visual aid, and sometimes the books have it. Like I think Jaws of the Lion does a really good job of like showing you a mock board setup when it's applicable, but there are just some times where you just need a little bit more, and that's where I find the YouTube videos come in.
Also, this game is like shockingly cheap for what it is. It's only like $40 to $50, it seems. Now, granted, I'm looking on like Amazon, but Amazon says 40 marked down from 50, and I'm pretty sure that is around probably what we paid. So I feel like it's for the amount of gameplay like 60, you get.
80, so it's probably a little bit on sale. Maybe not. I don't know. We did get it in person. We didn't get it online. So, and sometimes
remember.
board game shops, they have a small premium which I'm fine to pay, help support, your local board game shop and stuff like that.
I think it probably was still maybe. Also, why does it say playtime 30 to 120 minutes? There's no way.
I think that's like permission.
Permission.
Like,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, are we like the dumbest people on earth? We've been playing for hours. Okay. So we're now several scenarios in. I guess, do you, I feel like you still struggle like accepting that I like this game. I feel like it surprises you every time. Not that you struggle, like not like you don't believe me.
Yes.
But every time we're done playing and I'm like the last session was really fun. Like the last 2 sessions we had, now that we like know the game more, and we also kicked off the dust off like our return session and then had like another session after that where we already knew everything. I was like, yeah, this is so much fun. And you're like, really?
Well, I think it was the one session, the most recent one, we had to try it twice. Scenario 5.
I feel like that really was a big hit to your mind.
The first one we first time we tried it, we immediately failed. Well, not immediately failed it, but we very poorly executed on completing the objectives. Which again, these are like kind of tutorial scenarios, so they're not crazy complicated or anything like that.
Well, we worked good on completing the objective, but we
yes,
the book set us up for failure.
Yes, the book set us up for failure. But the second time we tried that scenario, the one thing I will give Gloomhaven credit for is that like when you fail a mission, you still keep experience,
which is nice.
Items you pick up, and so like technically, if you were to even just immediately retry the same mission, like reset up the board, blah blah blah, it is inherently easier.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of like not hand holding, but like retry boosts that you get from trying it again, because like, oh, you do get a little bit stronger even if you fail. You get some items even if you fail. You get some money.
The XP takes a while to like.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to level up though. So like it is very, very, very unlikely, if not impossible, that you would gain enough experience to also level up. Like you'd have to be just very close to leveling up,
or just grinding.
Yeah, that's
grinding in a tabletop.
Grinding in a tabletop game would be insane. What had happened was the objective was to clear like. 3 or 4? It's like 4 summoning stones, maybe 3 of them.
Yeah. Like that.
And they're like, hey, clear these summoning stones and then continue reading. And it's like, okay, cool. So we did the summoning stones. That was the focus, and there were other enemies there. But then once, spoilers for Gloomhaven, like episode 3 or something in the book, once you do that, more enemies appear, and then you have like more summoning stones to also destroy. And I'm like, y'all kind of made it seem like we break these stones and then get out. It also kind of, because of the video game background, I also kind of was like, well, are the summoning stones not also going to summon more? Like you kind of want to knock those out right away, when that wasn't really the best strategy for us. Like you kind of take the enemies out, then do the stones, then take care of the enemies / the stones.
Yep.
So I feel like we were set up for failure. I feel like you took our loss really hard internally. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Because I was because like you said, when I hear summoning stone, I think this thing that in 3 turns is going to spawn more enemies. In every game I've ever played ever, I feel like a summoning stone spawns more enemies after X turns. And this is the first time in my gaming history where it wasn't until you destroyed the summoning stone that
what happened is there were decorative summoning stones, and then the person was like, "Hey, what is that? Someone broke my summoning stones?" And they show up. It's kind of that's my headcanon for it, but.
And also the goal of the scenario was just destroy the summoning stone. So to your credit, I think you mentioned this while we were playing. It's like, no, I think we need to just kind of like beeline these summoning stones. Like, it seems like this is just the way to end it. And I was like, yeah, no, that's how I read it too. And then we even looked ourselves.
You looked up strategies on how to.
I didn't look up strategies. I looked up, is this scenario 5 like a difficulty spike in the Jaws of the Lion tutorial?
But did you not come back to the table saying, "Hey, I found out some tips if you want to know them"?
I did find out some tips, but I didn't go looking for strategies.
I don't know. Someone let me know in the comments of that.
I looked up information about the scenario.
I didn't cheat on my exam. I saw the answer sheet and I looked at it because it was there.
I saw the study guide and then I used that. That's different than cheating on the test.
I'm sorry, I saw the answer to number 3. Like, is that the same as cheating?
I think it's different. It's fair to
for clarity,
feel differently.
Looking up tips is not cheating in a game. It's just that like we are a team in Gloomhaven, you know, and in life, but also more importantly, Gloomhaven. And it's like, hey, I like. Took the like it's like whoa what's going on? We're doing like stuff outside of the game. Like what's happening? I felt betrayed from the sanctity of the table was compromised. But we did it again. We did great. It was awesome. But yeah, this is really fun. I guess to just like give a nod to what the mechanics and stuff are. Well, I guess I still haven't gotten to the bottom of like why do you think I don't like this game? Is it just because it's dry? It's a little dry of a game in a way, but I love this game. I think it's really fun.
I think it's why I still have a hard time believing that you like the game. You like the game is because it is very slow.
Yeah, it's like a little
and I feel like
tedious.
That can lose. Like I feel like I lose you when we're playing sometimes. And I don't know if losing you means that oh man, is she not having fun? Like, I wish it was, maybe if it was more exciting. I don't know, maybe a future scenario. I don't know, we gotta like do something creative or something. And that like kind of brings you back in more. But I feel like I lose you when I'm setting up the board or like calculating damage or this, that, and the third. It's just like, I think, man, she's gone.
Well, you don't lose me, but I think the thing is, if I'm not engaged, I'm going to disengage because I don't like being fake engaged. Like, why am I pretending to be like, you know what I mean? I'm in my house. Like, so.
But I don't think you find the engaged parts fun.
It's not that I don't find, well, I'll be honest. I don't think it's that fun to like one of the parts of the game for like just to give clarity for people who haven't played. It's like, again, it's tabletop. So if you don't know tabletop gaming, you can think of it as like an analog video game. Like if you played video games in an RPG, like this is what, like imagine if when an enemy attacked you, you had to like calculate what they were doing. Like you had to kind of and move them yourself. Like what if you had to move the enemy as well? That's kind of like the extra churn of the tabletop experience. So like when an enemy attacks, they pull a card from like their attack pile essentially, and boom, that's like what they're doing. And they have like attributes like how much damage they regularly do, how much they can move, that kind of thing. But the card will say like they move, and it'll maybe say like +2 or -1, and then it's like, okay, they're moving. If they move 2 normally and it's +2, they're gonna move 4. If they're moving 2 and it's -2, they're going to move none. If there's no move, it doesn't matter that they have move. So you have to go through all of that and then like do other parts of like, okay, well, what damage are they taking? Where are they going? And like, and that's not inherently fun, but like the experience is fun. It's like there's a lot of things in games that like aren't fun, right? Sure. Technically, it's like, is it fun to have to save like in this one room? Not really, but it facilitates the fun. I think there's a lot of stuff where it's like, it's about, you know, this sounds really dark, but most of life is not that enjoyable when you look at its individual parts. But when you put it together, it's fun, right? Is practicing my piano fun? Most times not really, no. I like don't like doing it. But then when I get into it, it's like, oh yeah, but then you can get to the fun, you know? Yeah. Is falling when you roller skate fun? No. Is putting on the gear fun? No. Is being sweaty fun? No. But like it's kind of fun to just roll around. And that's what you have to do to roll. But I think the reason that like sometimes I might seem like it's easy for me to zone out is if I'm not doing anything, it's like, well, I'm just sitting here. So even though I don't like love having to calculate damage in a sense, and I'm worse at it. That's the other reason that like for those listening, like why does a lot of it fall to Isaiah? Like Isaiah's just better at it, but for the sake of me being more involved, like that's why I started to say like, can I be some of the enemies?
Sure.
Because if I'm not doing the enemy part, then I'm really only like just doing my one turn,
Sure.
which means you do your one turn and every enemy's turn. And during that, that's just all time I sit and I wait. Like I don't get to like play.
Yeah.
So even though it's like that part isn't that fun to play,
Yeah.
like if I don't play that part, I'm only playing like 1/5 of the time, which is
Sure.
just not that interesting.
No,
I
that's
think
fair.
the other thing
And
that
I do like that solution we came to.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, like if there's more than one enemy, or even if there is only one enemy, we're taking turns. We're splitting up the enemies.
it also
movements
helps
and
me
stuff.
learn the game more because
Yeah.
I'm more involved. Like it's not useful for you to just give me like, oh, the answers, because then like I can't really do as much like on my
Sure.
own. And then I think the other thing that kind of makes you feel like self-conscious over am I liking it is I just pick my moves a lot faster than you, but like, and part of me is like, am I not being strategic enough? Because I think about all my moves, but like so the way the moves work is you have, at least this early in the game, is you can pick 2 cards and you can only, the cards are split, like they have a thing at the top and a thing at the bottom, and you can only ever do like, if you have 2 cards, like an A and a B card, you can only do the top from A and the bottom from B, or the top from B and the bottom from B. Like they can't mix and match. And that's because one is usually like a movement and one is like an attack. And they're like, well, you can't just like, well, I'm just going to attack for like all this damage, or I'm just going to move really far. Like they want to make it balanced. So I'll look through those and think about like, well, what do I want to do? And you're allowed to talk to your partner, but only like in more vague terms. You can't be like, should I use my attack 2 with disarm? Or should I use my, like, you have to be kind of more general. And then there's like another layer of each card has like a number that is associated with the speed, and that'll like determine like the order in which people go. Like, do you go first? Do the enemies go first? Blah, blah, blah. And I do think about those a lot, but I find that I often pick my cards and you're like still very much like, and you're picking your cards for like multiple additional minutes to the point where you're like, I'm sorry, I'm still picking my card.
I don't know about minutes. That's a stretch. All right, give me
An
some
extra
credit.
half hour is yeah, tactician over here. But yeah, no, I have a really good time playing it.
All right.
I think again, it really is just like it's just an analog video game. The only thing I'm kind of bummed about at this point is one of the big parts of this game to make it easier for people who haven't done like D&D tabletop RPG is that you don't roll. So what determines what you do is, I forgot what the first thing is, but I know there's like the modifier cards.
Yeah, it's generally just like a modifier deck, or it's like pluses and minuses or doubles and skips of like your attacks as well as the enemy attacks kind of thing. That's really the randomness, is like card shuffling, not dice rolling.
Yeah. So it's like, and then also I got these like really sweet ass dice, and I'm like, I've been dying to like roll them. And Isaiah, I forgot if I told you, but I also ordered more dice. Like I ordered another.
What? No, you didn't tell me that.
I did. You didn't want to listen. I ordered those those stupid milk carton cat dice that I showed you. It was Kickstarted. The Kickstarter exceeded like 3,000% and shit. Like these people are gonna retire off these fucking cat dice.
All right. Oh, it's Kickstarter, so we'll see if you ever get them.
Yeah. Something to look forward to. But yeah, it's been really good. But we have to play again. We haven't played.
Yeah.
In a long time.
Yeah.
Because you've been playing your other RPG.
Yeah, I've been, man, and how good of a game that's been. Metaphor.
Metaphor can't kill everything.
It surprisingly can.
I know. Are there any other, I guess, things about the game that you want to highlight or talk about?
With Gloomhaven?
Gloomhaven, yeah.
So far, no. I think once we finish, I think we have one more sort of tutorial scenario, and then depending on how long that goes, I would even be down to like double up that night and try and do like attempt our first real scenario if it kind of allows for it, like time wise. Because I'm curious to know like what. Again, we see the finish line to learning, and I want to know what it's like to play. You know what I mean? Like the guardrails are off.
We are playing.
We are. Well, we are. I'm not trying to say we're not, but like to guardrail, like it's like we're bowling. And the bumpers are coming down. And it's like, okay, I want to see what the first game is like, the first scenario post bumpers. And then like,
you are welcome to feel that way because it is your feeling. I think that's a little dramatic of a comparison because I feel like with the bumpers, you're really not even bowling. Like with this, I feel more like.
Why not? A person, if you're striking every time, the bumpers do no different.
That is true. Yeah.
But they're there to help you.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't feel like this game. The reason I don't like that comparison is I don't think this game has things that help you get your strike, to kind of use that metaphor. I think it's more like it doesn't have as much complexity. Like maybe you just get points if you hit the pins, and now it's like adding in extra layers. Because the things that have gotten introduced that like I just want to touch on briefly are elemental stuff has been introduced, which is really cool. It's like
cool.
It's stuff where someone might do an attack that infuses the battlefield with a certain element like fire, and then once their turn is over, that's when the battlefield is officially like has fire on it. And then you can also have an attack that can absorb an element, and in absorbing that element, it gains like additional damage or some type of bonus. And like that'll also have like an elemental cue. So maybe it's like, okay, like the battlefield is infused with fire, and then it's very nerdy. It's like I'll use my blade and I'll dip it in the flame. It's like, my flame has harnessing the power of light to, let me strike 2 enemies at once. Huzzah! And I go, and then and then the other stuff I like too is you can get items like in the shops and stuff. So I have like what do I have? I have a stamina potion where like you kind of, we won't get into all this because it's too long to explain, but you like discard your cards as you use them. Or like you put them to the side, then you can like do your rest and then gain them back. But the stamina potion basically lets me get almost an extra turn because I don't run out of cards as fast because I can take a card back and I can like pick the card that I take back. So there's like a lot of fun stuff. Like I think this game is really enjoyable. Specifically maybe I'm just biased to like the return we had, which felt really good.
It did feel really good. Yeah.
After those first, like I'd say 2, maybe 3 scenarios, like that's when I really feel like, okay, you know what you're doing, and you're doing more than just like walk up and hit. Yeah. Walk up and hit again. It's like, okay, we can like do more because you have like the elemental stuff, you have additional items where it's like, okay, this is going to be my real powerful thing. Like you just gave me a mana potion where I can infuse one of the elements like during my turn. So like, there's just some fun stuff going on. So I'm excited to see how things go for Slagathor and Tatiano, which are the names of our characters.
Yeah, man. Slagathor and Tatiano are running through this fantasy city.
I will say, Isaiah, unless we start really early in the day, which I'm happy to do, ain't no way we doing 2 scenarios in one day. Because it took us almost 2 hours to do that exit board game we did last night.
I don't know what that is true, but I don't know what the final tutorial scenario is like. I feel like it could be a pretty short one. And if it is, then I'm like, all right, well, let's double up.
I regret not writing exit in the run of show. Maybe we can get to that.
Oh, it's okay.
In a future episode. But I was humbled by that exit game because also you didn't solve everything like immediately, and I'm like, I thought you were good at puzzles. Like, I can't do this.
Some of them are very obscure.
Why is it
hard? And
the fact that this is ages 12 and up
I don't know what 12-year-old is beating
Gloomhaven. Do you know the age for Gloomhaven? Jaws of the Line.
Oh man, I'm afraid. No.
Do you want to guess?
10.
Nah. A little bit older. One more guess.
Like 14.
Yeah, 14 plus.
Wow. Okay.
That's not too bad. You're almost in high school, right? At 14, you're almost a freshman.
I think you're a freshman.
Yeah, I feel like that feels like a right age. I mean, I'm no expert in children's education, but like younger kids' education.
Yeah, I can see that.
But 14 plus, that sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. Because it's not even too bad to understand. You just need to like really figure out how to absorb information.
Again, if little kids are playing D&D and all the rules that go into that, I feel like they can definitely take Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah, but I think most kids D&D, I know you can be obviously any age really playing D&D, but I think like when we look at the library programming, most kids like D&D, it's like teens D&D. So you're still like 13.
Sure, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, because it's a lot, but yeah, shout out to the kids who could probably kick our ass, honestly, in these games, I think, at this point.
Easily.
But also, now that we've gone through, our one RPG, let's talk about another. Pokemon stream. We did streaming on our channel for the first time.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thanks to everybody who came through and helped us and chatted with us. We did a stream on, fair to say, my behalf. For the American Heart Association, raising some money for them. We played Pokemon FireRed, which is, it probably is one of my favorite Pokemon. It's probably definitely like a top 3 for me. There's something about just like that Ruby Sapphire engine that was just so good. The art is so good in that game. And then it's the nostalgia of the first gen, right? Where it's like, oh man, all right, yeah, we got my Charmander, we got Pikachu, we're going through Viridian City and the forest and everything. Like, I don't know. There's something about that game that is just special to me, and so it was really fun to be able to play that on stream. To I said it before, pop the champagne bottle on our Games and Not Games Twitch channel, which is, I don't know, super dope. I think it's just really cool. Yeah, and this is your first time playing FireRed.
I think
played
so.
the original, like, yellow, red, blue.
Yeah.
But you never played the remake of that first
Correct.
gen.
It was really nice. It's tough to know how fun it would be if I was playing it alone, because also you played like most of it.
Sure.
Which
Sure.
I'm fine with. I'm like, look, I don't need to do there's one person walking and then you just do the same attack. It's like kind of grindy, But I think the art is really nice, and it sounds like they made a lot of quality of life updates to the OG game, which, me, I'm down to play like an old clunker just for the vibes, but especially in RPG, like I have my limits, because I did try doing Pokemon Red at this point quite a few years ago on like the OG hardware, and at a certain point I'm like, yo, this sucks. Like, this experience is unpleasant. And I think the remake will like carry you over that finish line. Like, I think it does have just enough stuff, like the fact that there's like the running shoes and everything. I'm like, I think there's like enough here where it's a little bit more enjoyable, because it doesn't even have to be that enjoyable. Like, we're all just here for the nostalgia and the fun of doing this stuff. I think it was also a reminder for me of how simplistic Pokemon is compared to like almost every other RPG, but the fact that despite that simplicity, the core battles, when competitive, are very exciting, because it's almost just like, it's like you feel like you're rolling the dice, really. And I never really like clocked that as much, where it's like if you have a close matchup, it's like, oh, what's gonna happen? Oh my god, he missed. And it still has that energy, even though the type matchups are very simplistic. You have like 4 moves to do early in the game.
Yeah, it is almost jarring how similar the beginning of every Pokemon experience is. Like, when you really just get down to it, it's like you have your one Pokemon, maybe you catch a beginner bird, maybe you catch a beginner grass Pokemon, and then you are just tackling and scratching your way to like the first gym battle.
Yeah.
But it was cool. We had a chat there, and because we were raising money for the American Heart Association, anyone who donated money got to name the Pokemon that we catch, and we could only catch Pokemon when people donated.
I like that we added that.
I really like that. Yeah, that kind of like gives a little bit of strategic element to it. It incentivizes people to help us, because we really needed some help.
For a
at
while,
some point.
we had like 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, no,
it was so rough. I was like, look, y'all.
Really bad.
You gotta, someone has to come through.
But yeah, no, we got our first badge, which is really fun. We got was it a rock badge or whatever, boulder badge?
Yeah.
From Brock. And we are working our way through Mount Moon to get to the next gym, which is the water gym with Misty. So that should be fun. That should be good. I don't know. It's something about this Gen 1. I just really love it.
Yeah, it's nice to, I mean, you enjoy plenty of games, but I do think like, I give you shit all the time for like, sometimes you do hit those pockets where you're like, oh yeah, I like this game. And it's like, I think you just finished it. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously you're really enjoying Metaphor Fantagio. That's kind of your big like game that you're standing at this point in your gaming time, but there's something very wholesome about how much you like love your little Pokemon.
Yeah, man, it's something great. The music hits today. The art is great today. Like, everything
really
about
nice.
this game is still good today.
But I've been having so much fun with the way we're playing it, because we did do that donation name thing. It also made me like feel a lot more attached to the Pokemon, even like though they were all whack, because it was the beginning.
Yeah.
So we had like, I never say is it Rattata? I never say his name right, because it's like
I grew up saying Ratatat.
Ratatat.
But it's, I think, actually Rattata.
Ratatata. I just say Ratatata. The rat was named Last Kiss, which is so funny. I forgot some of the other names. Jigglypuff had like a really funny name at the end too.
Oh man. I'm blanking on it now.
Big Jiggly or something. I don't know. I had like some funky name.
Something like that.
Yeah, someone
Big
was
Jiggle or something like that.
Yeah,
or?
then there was Mankey had like I've sent you the name of Mankey, but they were all like funky names. Musket, yeah.
Yeah, we have Musket. We have Hot Weedle and Cold Weedle.
Hot Weedle and Cold Weedle. Yeah, so like I really enjoyed that part of streaming where Your chat will always think of stuff that you never would have thought of. /
Rezap Radio? How can we
Rezap
forget?
Radio, yeah, shout out to
Pikachu's name, Rezap Radio.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a good time. You know, in that session, you raised almost $300. So that's really good for a channel that didn't exist until the day that we did it. It's like, hi, you've never seen us before. Give us money, please.
No, facts.
Yeah, so, and our team in total, like my Pentapixels team, like you, Eddie, Ash, my brother, me, well, we've raised a total of $5,000.
Yeah.
So
That's
only going up every year. But yeah, it was really fun. I will say, we should definitely probably mention that we thought we had this game on cartridge, and we didn't. We had Pokemon Ruby.
We have Ruby,
yes. Which they look the same. And this is an old school problem. Oh, the colors. I thought it was the other one. We went to 2 retro game stores to check it out. One was.
If you guys thought gaming was expensive now,
we went to Retro Respawn.
Is expensive now.
Yeah, in the Valley. These are both Valley locations. Retro Respawn, and then what was the other one?
Game Dudes.
Game Dudes. Is it really Game Dudes? That's the name.
Maybe singular dude, but
Game Dude. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you would be right. Yeah, Game Dude. So we went to both of those just to get the lay of the land. I also brought my PS Vita and the PS Vita charger that hasn't been charging yet, and got that fixed up. So I just needed a charger.
Yeah.
The charger wasn't working. I never really realized that there was supposed to be it's like a little PlayStation logo that glows slightly when it's charging. But the Vita's like pretty new to me. Like I haven't played with it much. I didn't have one as a kid. So I like never really clocked that like stopped lighting up. But that's the only problem that it had. So that was great. And they sold me at Retro Respawn is where I bought it. They sold me, I think, just the charger that they were already kind of using for the store for like $8. I feel like that's a good deal. Like, that's not bad. They're like, you want to just take the one I have here? I was like, sure.
Yeah, we know it works. It definitely charges. Yeah,
I thought, no shade to Game Dude. It's like, seems like a fine store as well. But Retro Respawn is my first time going there, our first time going there. And I thought it was really cool. I think they had a great, like really wide selection. The staff was like very friendly and knowledgeable. And there were like a lot of people there for what was like the middle of the day.
Yeah, no, it is a very dense store, I think is a good way, is how I would describe it, where it's like, it's one of those game stores in like a, outdoor plaza kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it almost looks like it's 2 stores combined into one, where like there's 2 different entrance doors that they just keep one locked and they only use the one. But that means that you can go in one building and then like essentially walk through to the other where they have like, different consoles and cards and stuff like that. And like they have the most retro games I've seen in any place outside of like a convention. Like this store, if you want it, they got it. Like I don't think there was a single game I was interested in that when I looked or tried to find or something like that, they didn't have multiple copies.
Yeah, I think that's really the key. Because, again, not to pit them against each other, but Game Dude, we'd been there before. And that one has like seemingly way more games because it has like, it's a bigger store with more games literally in it, at least for display, like out on display. But they don't have as many like duplicate, or like for instance, they didn't have FireRed at all.
Yeah,
now, I will say, when they do have FireRed, they're charging like
like $20
less. Like I think it was
less.
20 to 40. Like it goes for like it was like 110 or
I think it was 140 at Retro Respawn and 100 or 110 at Game Dude.
So it was 100 because I do remember. I'm pretty sure it was 100. So it's like, now I don't know if that means like on the whole Retro Respawn is more expensive. I'd have to look more into it. I'm not ready to say that yet. And I also don't think they necessarily are like charging way more on every get, because like again the cable I got was like $8. They showed you another game that we looked at some other games that looked more like, I'm pretty sure that's just what the price of this thing is. And I looked online because I was curious what the like vibe was on the online pricing for that Pokemon game. And yeah, it goes for like that much or more. Like it's basically, you can get a loose cartridge of that game for like $150, $160. So I was like, I also like, maybe we can one day do, I don't know, TikToks or just a more in-depth thing on like, maybe go to more stores and just kind of do a big overview of all the game stores in LA or something. But I really liked this is kind of like how you're supposed to have it set up, but they had like this, the prices like near the games on all the games, while at Game Dudes, like they have like a pamphlet system, kind of like what GameStop has. GameStop has that too internally, but it's not really customer facing usually, where they're like, oh, you want to know the prices of some of these games? Like grab the pamphlet for like what console and then look for the name of it. And then it's like, okay, well, if we did have it, this is what it would cost. It's not as enjoyable an experience for me, because I love to peruse. Like Retro Respawn was a more exciting store to peruse to me. They also have like a lot of just like cute extra things. Like they have a lot of like mini CRTs playing like old games. They have their like swag rack. It has a couple of like store shirts. Like, oh, sure, this is Retro Respawn. But they also have like funky stuff. Like here's an old faded polo from someone that worked at EA 30 years ago that I guess donated to the store or something. Yeah. And like I think that stuff is really cool. I mean, nothing there really caught my eye specifically, but I could totally see wanting to get something like that at some point. They had like a lot of kiosk stuff. It just I think it was just really nice. I liked it a lot. It felt very cozy. So, and that was like I said, the first time going there. So we'll definitely be back. Yeah, no, place was cool. Place was dope. Definitely want to go back and get some, if not Vita games, now that your Vita's up and running, maybe some PSP stuff. I saw you look eyeing the Vita. I was like, okay. There's some Metal Gear. I have the Metal Gear. Yeah, the Metal Gear. I have the Metal Gear Solid collection for, I think both PS2 and PS3, the ones that dropped. But I don't think they come with one of the mobile ones, but it's like it comes with Peace Walker, so I still need Acid, or it comes with Acid, and so I don't I need Peace Walker or something like that. So it could be good to check out Retro Respawn again and see if I can get those. Yeah. Complete the collection, ahead of this Metal Gear Solid Delta drop. Yeah, it just had good vibes in it. Yeah, like it's a cool spot. Even just hearing they got cards. Yeah, they have trading cards. They had this awesome, it was like $80 or something, but they had this giant card of Fat Pikachu, and I don't really care about like TCG like that at this point, though we need to play Lorcana again at some point. But even though like I feel like I'm kind of like my memory's getting re-triggered. I'm like, didn't you whoop my ass in that game? I feel like you know what it was? You know what it was? It was like we had that match where you won by 1 point after coming back, and you were like, oh, I'm not gonna win. Oh. And then you're like, oh wow, really close match. I'm like, man, this sucks. You ever like, how Pokemon has a rival? What if your rival was your fiance? Your friend? Excuse me. Hey, yo. I said partner. Oh, okay. I thought you said friend. No. My bad. Oh, on that note too, we named our rival in the stream Heart Disease, which was really funny. Yeah. We're fighting Heart Disease. We're taking down Heart Disease. That being said though, we did not buy that game because it was insanely expensive. So it was very expensive. Yeah. We got it. We got the stream working, and that's all you need to know. You know what I mean? Exactly. Don't go asking questions. We explored other resources, and we realized that we were able to get the stream working despite not buying in $100 and something. Was happy. If the cartridge was $60, I probably would have just got it. Oh yeah, 60, hell yeah. 80, I maybe would have let you slide. 100 something. Yeah, that's my god, that's up there. Damn. The not even sealed, but just like the with box was like $400. And this is why outside of games that, because I don't really care personally, again, this could be another topic in itself, like our collections, what we collect, what we keep. I'm at the point of my life where in general, I'm just not a holistic collector. Like I don't want just like stuff to have it. But if I like the games, that I'm going to keep. So I'm at the point where, and consoles I'm just automatically keeping now for just... I've bought, the fact that I don't know how many times I got to buy this N64 before, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to keep all consoles. But games, like, if I don't like the game, I'll just get rid of it. Even if it's going to sell for, like, a lot later. Because I don't care about, like, the value of the game. But, like, I forgot what game I didn't like. Like, I didn't like Link's Awakening or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to sell that just back to GameStop or put it on my cart, whatever. So I'm like, I don't like it and I don't want to play it again. Sure. Or, I don't know, there's been other little games here and there. WarioWare I wasn't a big fan of, so it's like, I'm just gonna, we're not really playing that. I'm gonna toss it back. But the stuff that I like, I'm never getting rid of. Like, if I like it a little, it's staying a lot because I don't want to have to rebuy them later. You don't know when you'll ever have to rebuy it. And sometimes you can rebuy stuff for cheap, but sometimes it's $100 and something dollars. But, yeah. And now for the not game section of the show, we are talking our scary movie history. And then in a little bit, we're going to get into Scream as well, because we saw that. For me, for you, it was the first time too? Or?
It was like my first time watching it intentionally front to back.
Yeah, not just clips on
parts.
the
Yeah,
internet.
I've seen parts of it, some of the other movies. Like I knew things going into it, which we'll talk about. But yeah.
All right, scary movie history. What do you got?
So, as I've mentioned before, when it comes to scary movies, scary games, scary anything, I'm a big baby. I do not do the spookies.
Buff baby.
Halloween is a really rough time for me because I love candy. And I'm not gonna say I love candy, but I like candy. I like, my Reese cups and everything like that. But I hate being scared. I hate haunted houses. I hate scary movies. I hate shock, and I just don't get it. I don't get why I would pay someone to make me feel fear. That just doesn't I just can't understand
Because
that.
we don't hunt anymore, so we need a way to.
You know why we don't?
Because we have Amazon
we've
Prime.
evolved past as a society. Anyways, so I don't have a great history with scary movies in general. I did watch the Halloween movies with Jamie Lee. Those are fun after a while because they got a little bit more actiony over time, and that was great. I've seen The Thing before, which is great because it's a little bit more of a mystery almost. I grew up watching Jeepers Creepers. That was a big scary one for me and my household. Kind of my older brother almost like maybe watch it more than like I chose to watch it. But that was a good movie. It was really good, honestly. And then we saw like Smile and Megan and stuff last year.
Yeah.
That was in the Chucky movies.
Yeah.
Chucky and the
Jordan Peele stuff. I know
Leprechaun.
more thriller than. But it's the horror genre.
I don't care. I don't consider. I consider those different. There's no.
I was scared watching those.
Killers in. I mean, I guess there are killers. They mentally kill people. And the monsters do kill, but it's not like a gory, scary monster. It's just their monster.
I mean, if you go to the horror
thing.
tab, that's where you're gonna find Jordan Peele stuff.
That's true, but I don't consider Jordan Peele stuff horror. I consider it more like thriller, and I'm fine with thriller.
And what's
I love a
thriller?
good thriller mystery. That's
horror.
great. Horror, I don't like horror. So, but yeah, there are some stuff that I do like though.
Well, thriller is just mystery with fear. So
Yeah, I don't like the fear. Well, I don't want to feel fear.
But Jordan Peele stuff is, it is
I
horror.
think his stuff is more like creepy than fear.
Yeah,
Like
that's
when I'm
scary,
watching
though.
Us, at no point in Us did I ever feel afraid.
Well, I think the thing is like horror is a broader genre than people, because horror comedies are also horror movies. That's another. You watched that one that I made you watch, Ready or Not. Yeah, and I'm sure I think you've watched Scary Movie also, some for horror comedy at least.
Scary Movie is just comedy. It is a
Is it comedy or is it horror comedy?
horror themed comedy, but it is not horror. There is no horror.
That's my
in
point.
It.
Like, it's horror is not just about like I'm very scared, because there's
I
also
think
like
it is because else is not
know.
horror. It's something else.
I don't know. I mean, I think thriller is horror, but if you don't, we don't have to fight over the categorization. But that's why I'm like, I think
Less known to comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, to be honest, I feel like I don't know if we can.
That's fine.
I don't know if it's even up for debate if thriller is horror, but I get what you mean I get why people make that distinction a lot of times, where they say, oh well, when you think scary movie, you think of like slashers, gore, blah blah blah, and I think the distinction too for a lot of people, myself included, Jordan Peele stuff, because it's a thriller, it's more on the thriller side. It is a lot more tolerable if you are a scary ass bitch, as we are self-proclaimed scary ass bitches.
That's me.
I feel like you're less fearful than me. Did I make that up in my head? Are you secretly as much of a baby as I am?
No.
But you just cry less? Like,
No, I am not as much as a baby, but I probably dislike the feeling of fear more than you do. Because the fact that you seek out horror in general tells me that I dislike fear more than you do.
yeah. Well, I just love to expand, I love to just like check out, stuff. Even though like we've talked about this on the show before, like I don't watch many movies and I haven't watched many movies. When my brother was over the other day, he's like, I feel like I failed you in, pseudo raising you, which wasn't his job anyway. But because I was like, you missed so many iconic movies and now you're just this weirdo walking around.
Sure.
So I am trying to fill some of those gaps because I think they're good to just culturally fill and kind of be part of the conversation. But also like, I like Halloween, the holiday, putting up my little pumpkins.
Yeah.
the little like decorations and stuff, and you don't really
No.
like that stuff. Well,
No.
you're not really a decorations man,
No, but I enjoy a good Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I enjoy.
But you're not a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, right. For Thanksgiving, I enjoy a nice table runner or something that like
Sure.
kind of like sets the mood for the Thanksgiving holiday. But Halloween is just everything's all dark and scary and
No, the ghost that I hung up is he's
spider.
smiling.
It's got all my least favorite things. It's got horror. It's got spiders. It's got darkness and creepy.
Okay, but
It's
for the
just,
YouTube version, that ghost friend,
yeah, it goes his friend.
he's smiling.
Ghost his friend. He's
Yeah.
cool.
So it has candy, so there's
It does have candy,
yeah.
that
And I
is
put
true.
the candy bowl out and
Well,
filling it out.
Those fruities.
Those
man.
fruities. Oh, we're going to the fruities are crazy. Yeah, my history with horror is only a little different than yours in that I also have like a handful of horror films, and that's kind of it, And I got Jordan Peele stuff. I got Amityville Horror was the first horror movie I ever watched. It was really scary to me at the time. I don't know if it'd be as scary as an adult. But we watched it like I remember we watched it intentionally during the day because I didn't want to be like I wanted to be as scared as I could be watching something scary. I watched the Saw movies, which are,
I do like the Saw movies.
they're more like, I mean, it is horror, but it's like, I don't know. It's like that, it's more just like grotesque.
You know what it is?
Like, oh man,
Sorry,
Saw's leg off. Okay.
to interject really quick, what I don't like is holding on to too much tenseness.
Yeah.
And I feel like something like Scream, which we watched, there were some scenes where they really hold on to that tenseness.
Yeah.
Whereas Saw, it doesn't really hold on to the tense.
No, you're
it
just
very
like,
quickly like, oh no, they're about to die.
It's like cut your
there's
leg off, yeah.
question about what's going. There's nothing behind the corner or anything. No, like the saw is like going towards their face. They're gonna die.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, cool. My body can like release then. Like, okay,
Yeah.
they're dead. I'm just gonna enjoy watching them die, kind of thing,
Yeah, Saw is definitely, I think, pretty. Unless you're like really, which I have
If
to
you're
go back and
squeamish,
yeah, I have
maybe.
to go back and watch, especially the older ones. Like, how gross is even look? Because it's like I don't know how realistic, and also they don't necessarily show everything that happens like on screen either. Final Destination for like a little campy nonsense. That was like
same
the
idea.
campy horror of our generation.
That toes the line a little bit with like that tension.
Yeah. Well, something's gonna happen, so it's like where
Yeah.
But honestly, I kind of want to rewatch those movies because they're so iconic. Like
I'd be
the
down.
walking through the hardware store. I think of that every time I go to Home Depot. That
I
movie.
don't know which one that is.
I forget which one. It's one of the early ones because I think I only watched the first like 3. I don't know how many they have, but
There's something like 8 or 10.
I had a
something
DVD
stupid.
of one of the earlier ones where they let you in the DVD like do a choose your own adventure version.
Oh, okay.
For like one of the scenarios, which was really cool. Which also I think Netflix, I know you're listening to this. Y'all should make like some horror choose your own adventure stuff because that's like so fun.
I can see that being popular. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really fun if they did that. I don't know. They could even team up with like if they did a spinoff of like a horror show that's already like, on Netflix or something. Like, it could be cool. Yeah. So what else do I have? I don't have too much. I watched Smile with You. We watched Megan. I watched the new It. Only the first one of the new one.
That. I haven't seen that just because it's long. It's not even about the the horror element.
It is. It's not too scary. At least I want to watch the OG one and then the new second one. It's a whole thing. But yeah. And then other than that, like really here and there stuff, we did try to do a little bit of like the horror classics. Like last year we watched The Shining. We watched Pet Sematary. Or maybe 2 years ago. Was that? Yeah, I know you weren't. You
Pet Sematary was fine. The
I love
Shining
Pet
was just
Sematary.
so boring. It was so long.
I liked
so slow.
I know. I liked it because I'm a writer, so it's like, oh, this guy going mad right with his writing. Like that's kind of cool.
That Alan Wake. You just love these movies and games, this media. Where
Writing
you're a writer.
doesn't do well to the soul. They're like, why don't you just write it down? Don't try to publish it though, because that's the thing. Writing good. Writing for the sake of sharing, not as good. I'm probably missing a couple here and there, but that's most of my horror background. But yeah, I want to get more into just watching like more horror. It's a genre. It's the genre that I'm like least familiar and also least comfortable with because I'm like, I don't want to be scared. Like I'm one of the people that like, for me, the thing that scares me about horror is feeling afraid afterwards. I don't like that. I don't like picturing the killer and the monsters. I don't like going to the bathroom at night.
Sure.
I'm thinking that they're there and I don't know. That's what really messes me up. If I could just like detach from that, it would be less like traumatic, but yeah. So getting into Scream, real quick, we'll do our thoughts without spoilers, and then we will mention like, hey, the spoiler warning if you haven't seen Scream or you don't want the spoilers for Scream, which I feel like it's a good chance that some people haven't seen Scream, like kind of like your thing where you just watch clips of it.
Yeah,
I think that's not.
There's also like 4 or 5
uncommon.
of them, so like maybe someone's seen one, but not the entire sort of series.
Yeah. The original one was 1996. So, and after that, they got to cranking these out. For Scream 2 and 3.
Honestly, I really liked it. Without going into spoilers, I really liked it. I knew things about it going into it that you just pick up from pop culture and stuff like that. But I really liked it. I liked how it is set in a world where scary movies exist. And so like they were able to play with that with like different elements. And if you've seen the movie, you definitely know like, oh, they like reference other movies and actors and this, that, and a third. And so like I thought all of that was just like really fun.
Yeah. I thought it was really good. It is a good in between a little scary, intense, like you said, with the I think the camera work in that movie is also really fantastic.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
They do some really good, like I'm probably gonna butcher the terminology, but basically like following shots where like someone's walking and the camera's following behind them. That really creates this like, it's almost like they position you as the killer, and it has like this scary like voyeurism angle. It also reminds me of, I was talking to my colleague / boss Ben Hansen, and he mentioned to him the scariest thing is like the idea of you opening a window, looking out a window and someone's looking back at you. And I'm like, yeah, that's why Us was so scary. And he's like, yeah, that was the scariest part of the movie. After that, it's like everything else is like whatever. And obviously different people have different like fears, but I feel like that is such a fear, like the being like a rat in a cage kind of vibe, and Scream plays with that a lot. And yeah, like you said, they have the meta thing of being in reference to horror movies. And I think they do a really good job towing the line, because I feel like you could easily have fumbled that and made it way too cheesy of like, the characters overly playing up. It's like a horror movie. What would they do? And then they like solve it that way. Like it doesn't go that far into it, but you can see like it using tropes, it like referencing like, mirroring things that have happened as they're happening. Like it's got some fun play with that. Yeah, it's just an enjoyable time. And the time flew by. I had heavily debated. I'm like, do we watch this movie? I've been wanting to watch this movie for the last like 3 days. And I'm like, the fucking exit game took too long to play. I'm like, it was like 11. I'm like, we're not going to finish till 1. That's kind of too late. I don't want to be sleepy. And then eventually, you know what, let's just watch it. And I'm like, oh, I'm like halfway through. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm super awake, alert, like enjoying it. Yeah, it was. Also,
it's
was
funny. Like it's a legitimate funny
too,
movie sometimes. The cast is also really great.
Yeah.
Again, I'm pretty sure it is. It's Drew Barrymore's one of the first movies I've seen her in, at least. That was where like kind of I learned her name, and then even now I'm not like a big Drew Barrymore fan where like I've seen all her work. But I've seen Santa Clarita Diet. That's really fun.
Yeah,
that's a fun show. It's got Monica from Friends in there.
Yeah, Monica was a good pull.
That's really fun.
That was exciting.
It's got the guy who plays Shaggy in the live action Scooby-Doo movies. That's fun. I feel like Dewey is someone, but I don't know who. Maybe it'll come to me in a later movie.
David Arquette is the actor's name. If that does anything for you?
Name doesn't ring a bell, but I feel like I've seen his face in other stuff. But yeah, no, it's good cast, good fun story. It makes fun of the whole like slash. I guess now we're kind of getting a little bit more into the spoiler.
Yeah,
territory.
We can spoiler warning for Scream if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you haven't
also,
seen Scream.
If you, again, just to really drive it home, if I think this is what would you put scale of 1 to 5 maybe fear factor of this movie? I think it's like a 1.5.
I was gonna say like
mild.
3 tops.
3? That's really
I'm saying like top, like if you are someone like me who just like you don't do horror at all ever anything, there are some creepy moments, and again they really hold on some like camera angles for a long time to like really build that tension, which was getting to me in some parts. But then there are other things where they do and it's like, oh no, that's not scary at all.
There's also some big gaps in the movie where it's very clear that no one's really in danger for like big stretches of time. It's like, oh, they're just like walking around in broad daylight, like before they get to the next like potentially tense moment. Like, so I feel like the movie is also very good at telegraphing. Now's the time where you might want to be afraid, and then they kind of ease up on that a little bit, and then it's kind of like they're continuously like putting their foot on the gas, but they don't have their foot on the gas the whole time. While some movies, it's like the whole thing is dark. You know, someone will make their coffee, and I'm like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. Like, you know,
the killer's behind the coffee.
Yeah, like, or like, oh, they're going to drop the thing. You know, like there are horror films that will have jump scares of mundane things. It'll be like, oh my God, the kettle like went on. And so I feel like this isn't as extreme with that. But yeah, I recommend it to people to check out if you are okay with horror at all. I feel like Scream is pretty tame. And I did a quick Google of Scream versus Halloween. I haven't seen Halloween yet. And people say that Halloween is scarier than Scream. If that gives, I don't know how true you'd put that in there.
I mean, I guess so. Yeah, inherently. It's definitely got, there's no like real comedic moments like in Scream. You know what I mean? The characters are all generally more serious, and like, the killer's more serious, and I would say it's overall a just scary movie.
Now that we're gonna get into spoilers, so spoiler warning if you don't want spoilers. But on that note, I'm sure during the spoiler section we'll talk a little bit more about that fear factor and like things that help alleviate or amplify it. So, okay, spoilers on.
Yeah,
I didn't know anything going into this movie except for the fact that there's a guy called Ghostface, who wears that costume. Yeah. I've seen that costume a million times. And when the girl goes from TikTok,
oh yeah,
you want to play psycho killer? Can I be the helpless victim? Please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. But that's it. I don't see her die. I don't see anything from that. Like that's the only thing I knew from this.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I knew that it was two killers, like two people doing the killing in the movie, and that kind of like threw people off and in universe, and then also like for viewers, because while we were watching it, there were moments where you were like, oh man, is he the killer? Well, he can't be the killer. Like the boyfriend can't be the killer. Billy can't be the killer now because he was in jail or something like that. And in my head, I'm like, that doesn't mean not. But I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna spoil that for you.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty cool twist, though. Like,
I was surprised. I didn't see it coming.
It's not something you get very often, where it's actually like a group of people doing the killing, disguised as one person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. I didn't know which two characters, so I will say that kind of kept me on my toes for the movie, where I was still trying to figure out. Did you have like
guesses for the two? As you went on, like I had my the ones they set me up for, which is like the boyfriend, the dad, and I think those were my only ones really. I forgot if I had any. I know random third person obviously could always be a factor, but I never. I know some people I was looking at Letterboxd thought like the cop was maybe the killer. I never thought he was the killer. I thought that for
a bit, particularly when she was sitting there screaming bloody murder on the phone. And it wasn't until after she hung up that the cop then came in. I was like, oh, is he like on the phone talking to her in his bedroom kind of thing? It was that. There was the big movie film buff guy. I think he was Randy. I think his name is Randy. He's like the really big horror movie fan. I was like, oh, clearly he like, he's disassociating real world with horror movies, and he's like on a killing spree. He's a part of it. Yeah, no, I didn't expect it to actually be Shaggy, Stu. That threw me off for a bit. But again, good movie. Down to watch the future ones. Some of the characters return just based on the movie poster. It seems like Monica's character was Gail Weathers. She shows up still. Obviously, Sydney, I think, shows up still. The Dewey shows up still. And I know some stuff going into these future movies as well, but I won't spoil them for you.
Sweet.
But I'm eager to see these next Scream movies as well if we choose to watch them, but before Halloween or whatever, or even, whenever. Yeah.
I'm trying to see what the name of the film buff guy, because I don't think it actually was Randy, is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Randy.
No, Randy's like, oh no, he is Randy, I guess. Yeah. He looks different in some pictures to me for some reason. Yeah, I guess, did he like shave his beard at one point in the... I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm like looking at pictures of the actor. I'm like, which guy is this? Yeah, it was really fun. It's also one thing that's been enjoyable for me about watching these like other horror movies is similar to any like genre, whether it's like games or just something else, like you start to see the patterns. And I think that's pretty fun. I'm sure like people that are, I know they can cut the other way where people like become like, it's hard, they're harder to please because they have like a higher standard because they've seen like a lot of stuff. But just the trope of like the person you trust being like the killer. Though also, I mean, in real life, I guess the most likely person to kill you is your partner as a woman. So I suppose like that's not that subversive, but yeah, like it was really cool having that set up. I liked the setup of the two guys too, who were like, it's him, and like I feel like that's kind of a classic situation. Yeah, it was just really exciting. I think the thing that I wanted to touch on for the comedy of it is, but it's also like, I mean, obviously Ghostface is a bad person because he's like a fucking murderer. They're murderers. But also I'm like, I was telling you while we were watching it, which we don't really chat too much when we watch movies. We'll like say a few comments here and there, but for the most part, we're pretty like,
yeah, we try to just watching
the movie. Isaiah's also a big like pauser. If you say something, like if you talk a little too much, he'll like pause it.
Yeah,
because he doesn't want to miss parts of the movie. So it's like you might as well just like keep it going. Though I've always been like that. I'm not a big chatter during a movie, especially a movie neither of us have seen. If we've seen it, it's more chill because it's like whatever. But the thing that I kept going back to is Ghostface is like it's very clearly like a regular human being, you know? It's not like he has powers.
Yeah.
It's not like he's like a criminal mastermind. He's just like he's a psycho killer. So it's like just like he'll literally just go for you, and it's like he's not looking to flank left. He's not looking to be efficient. He's just going for you, and if you get the drop on him, he's gonna fall. He'll get back up, and he'll
like
just keep going.
Clumsy killer. Like he falls in like every chase scene in this movie. He like stumbles or falls, or like you said, the person's able to like duck below when he like goes to grab them or something. It is honestly pretty comical watching him work.
I forget the name of who was like the best friend, like the girl who died in the garage.
Tatum.
When Tatum threw the beers at him, it was so funny.
Yeah.
Just because like she was clocking him with those beers. I also think the deaths did feel very like some of that, like her death specifically, where she's climbing through the door and he puts the garage. That felt very Final Destination to me. Obviously, I know this is before that, so obviously it's the opposite direction. But there's some like occasional funky deaths. I think it's the only one that was really like crazy like that. But yeah, it was interesting. And then in hindsight, it's like like. With them working together, one of them probably locked her in there and stuff like that. And I don't know how much they were in communication with each other on how they were going to do everything. But also,
presumably, it was the Stu who killed her, like her boyfriend, in that scene. That's what I was.
No, wasn't Stu in the house though? And he's the one that asked for the beer.
Well, he said he went to go get the beers, and then that's when she died. Like her scene was like the next scene.
No, he went when he said like I'll be right back. I'll be right back. That was after.
No.
I think it was after.
I don't think it was.
Because he asked her to get the beer. That's why she left to begin with. He was like, can you give me some beer? She's like, what am I, the beer maiden or whatever?
Yeah, she did that. And then she walked away.
Yeah.
And then, well, she was in the garage. Her scene was for a while. They were both gone at the same time.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm not. So I don't know what that leaves us. But I mean, either way, it's a fun, like, constant twist that I think, I'm sure on multiple watches is a little bit more like gleamable, or you can see like how they like hint at different aspects. But I did mention to you during the movie, I'm like, if Billy's not the killer, he's like really scary. His vibe is just scary as fuck. Like, I would not be around this guy. Creepy. He had these like, he had a villainous vibe to him.
Your boyfriends at the end.
Yeah, the boyfriends. Funny. Yeah, it's like, oh, there's two psycho boyfriends just hanging out. It's the other things to touch on with it.
Are you interested in seeing the other ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was told, we'll see if this like is true for me, that the other ones are like equally quote unquote as good, or at least like comparable. Because whenever there's like a big series, it's kind of like, oh, are these actually like good though, or are they just like
off and become money grab? Yeah.
Well, not even that, but like it's not a guarantee. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they made more. Are the other ones also good, or are they not? Because and it could cut either way. You know, like who's talking about Lion King 2? Nobody. You know, and it wasn't even like it was bad, but it's like, you know.
No, that's fair.
It sounds like Scream is a lot more on par. I will say one thing about watching this. I kind of did wish we did Friday the 13th and Halloween before, just because they reference those movies. And it's not like they're like, remember the scene where they're not spoiling the movies, but they do reference them. And I kind of felt like, oh, I wish I had like that background. I feel like that's if they're like a trilogy or like a pair, a trio, I feel like the right order probably would have been Halloween, Freddy, and then this thing. But
that's fair.
If you guys have time to right those wrongs in your own lives, that's what I would recommend. Just so that you can feel like, oh, okay. Though I know Scream is also like, I think a little less scary than those movies too.
I think
I wanted something not too terrifying for like before bed. And also I just been wanting to watch it. I'm like, seems like a good, like it's a classic movie. It's not too scary. Seems like a good kind of setup for things. But yeah, any other Scream feelings you have?
No, I kind of like you said, I'm more interested in seeing Halloween with you now because I've seen the Halloween, so those won't be inherently as scary for me. I can rewatch horror movies just fine once I know what to expect. Once we get to Friday the 13th, then that'll be a little bit more creepy for me. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. And Freddy Krueger as well, like the Nightmare on Elm Street. I have no idea how I'm going to handle those. Especially when it's like, we got to watch that like in the morning. You know what I mean? Like well before bedtime. I don't want to watch this Dream Eater horror man and then go to bed afterwards. That'd be too much. But we'll see.
It got like, I'm trying to see what people actually thought of this movie. It got okay reviews, 78 on Rotten Tomatoes. The one I'm about to mention. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark from like the children's books. I feel like that movie's fun. Like it's not too scary. It's a little, it has some light visual disturbances, but I'm pretty sure it's also like a PG-13 movie. So I think it's like, you can only be so scary at PG-13. Though I don't remember if it even is that. I watched it, when it came back out in 2019. Yeah, I feel like that'll be a fun one, and you've never seen it, so and somewhat similar. Like rewatching horror really isn't too bad because you do know all the stuff. So it's like I'm excited to see you watch it, and I can just be there like, ew, oh my god, it's so scary. It's like again, that movie's not too scary because it is based on like kids horror, which is like not that scary. Like so, but they're really fun. Maybe we'll watch that today. I don't know if we'll do like Halloween. Maybe we could do a double feature or something. We got to figure out what we're getting into. But yeah, the thing I wrote a note too of what I want to mention before we end our Scream conversation. We watched this movie at night, and it's like, okay, again, not the scariest movie ever. Go to bed. It's late. It's dark or whatever. Tell me why, y'all. There's this cat outside like our bedroom window. Not literally right outside, but like somewhere outside in that direction.
It was very close to outside.
And
it
was just
window.
Like, and then, or I don't even know what sound it made, but it like made this horrible screech. And Isaiah's like, is that our cat? And I'm like, no, like our cat's like, the sound came from a different spot. We have the door closed. Our cat's in the living room. She doesn't sound like that, blah, blah. But it was like really scary. Yeah. And you were falling asleep when that happened.
I was about to hit dreamland. Like I was so out. And this blood curdling scream from a cat brought me back to consciousness.
Honestly, kind of scared for that cat.
It was terrifying.
Because there were coyotes out in the valley too. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen any coyotes around where we're at, like specifically, but so I didn't like that. Didn't like that part.
That threw me for a loop. Not gonna lie.
Would you be too disturbed if I ever dressed up as Ghostface? Because it just, he looks like...
No, Ghostface was actually the costume I wore the most as a kid growing up. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're a baby Ghostface?
Yeah, because they had the mask that had, like, you could put the blood in it, and it gave a little pump. And, like, you could, like, squeeze the pump, and then the blood, like, drips down the mask. If people know, you know.
We should be...
it was really fun.
Maybe not this year, because it's, like, we're running out of time, but next year we should be Ghostface together. Each Ghostface. Just two Ghostfaces.
Oh, man. I don't think people confuse There's one 5'2" Ghostface and one 6 foot Ghostface.
5 feet like, flat. Excuse me. Me and Sabrina Carpenter. I was trying to give same you height.
The 2 inches. All right. Well, 5 foot flat and then a 6 foot Ghostface.
Yeah. They're like, wow, who are the killers?
Yeah.
When we're sitting down, it's not that different.
Yep.
If I widen my shoulders and
they say the best position for killing people is when you're sitting down.
Well, we're not actually going to go kill people. We're just going to podcast,
Oh, okay, cool. All right,
Yeah. Well, I
all
don't know what you thought I was pitching you on. You know?
I was thinking like, oh, we're going around trick or treating or
I
something.
mean, we could go out. I'd be down to go to the bar or something. We're both Ghostface. There's a little ghost and a big ghost.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right.
If you'd wanted to be a complimentary costume, I could be like one of the girls or something, you know. But
nah, I'm sold on the two ghost.
But if I'm gonna be one of the girls, I want to go like I want to have like part of the garage door like hanging from my neck kind of vibe, you know. Because yeah, like otherwise you're just wearing cute '90s clothes, which is fun. But it's fun to make it a little. Or I could be what's her face and just in blood or whatever. Yeah, good times. So shout out to Monica. Monica killed it. So fun. There was just like all the characters were really fun and likable. Like they had fun plots and characteristics.
Yeah. It was good.
And now for the poll of the show. Last week we asked, have you ever had season tickets to a sport in honor of us getting season tickets to the Galaxy? And 9.8% said yes, 78% said no, and 12.2% said no. But I've known someone who has.
Yeah.
Though I just realized I wrote, but I've known someone, not I've known someone who has had it.
I think people
understood.
People got it. Yeah.
People got what I was putting down. But I just realized, no, but I've known someone. Literally everyone has known someone. So, but then something that was kind of fun is I'm trying to find it. One of our listeners, Mr. Hawks, has season tickets to Real Salt Lake City, and their prices are a little bit cheaper, but not as big of a gap as I thought it was. I think we looked at like the chart they sent, and it's like for our seats they'd be like $558 or like $600-700 or something per
somewhere
person.
Around there, yeah.
Like between 5 and 6. And ours are like per person. Where are they? They're like
$780, $70, $75, something like that.
Something like that. So it is like definitely a little cheaper, which makes sense. Different markets have different prices, but it's not like as crazy as I thought
it's
it
not
was.
like twice as much or anything.
Yeah, because Hawks has the standing, not only, but like the standing kind of more area, which I presume is their support section as well, which we also had, of course, an option to do that, but then you're behind the net.
Yeah,
but it is fun. Like for some people, like that's their preferred way to see it, and it is we should probably at some point in our life go to the supporter section just for the experience because you've never done it. But you're not like a supporter section kind of boy is the thing. Yeah.
No, I want to sit down with my drink.
Yeah, you don't want to go like rah rah da, da, da. Yeah.
I don't like doing the wave. I don't like doing anything.
We don't do the wave.
Yeah, but I just in general, like you go to a baseball game here or something, they always do the wave.
Isaiah doesn't want to participate. He wants to look down
I want to watch. I want to spectate. All right, I want to see it live. I want to do what I do at home, but do it there. All right, that's me.
Yeah. You don't want to cut down the trees, Portland timbers, just
no. That sounds cool. I want to see the tree get cut.
Yeah,
but I don't want to be a participant in the cutting of
Isaiah
the tree.
likes to sense the supporter section. He doesn't like to be in the supporter section. Which,
I want to feel the supporter section.
Yeah, which I do like that we're not too far from.
Yeah, we are
that
pretty
area
close,
with the energy.
nice.
It's like like y'all, we're kind of all there, but not in there. And but that was last week's, which brings us to this week's poll of the show.
In this week's poll of the show, which you can find over on our Twitter. I don't know. Does Blue Sky have?
Blue Sky doesn't have poll
polls?
integration is the thing. Because if they did, I think I'd be totally fine making it like either or, and we can just read both results. But
all right, well,
once Blue Sky gets poll integration, you can do it on there.
For the time being, you can find it over on our Twitter at Games and Not. This week we're asking, who's your favorite classic horror villain? We have Ghostface. We have Jason Voorhees, we have Freddy Krueger, and we have Michael Myers. So the big four of the like 80s, 90s, aughts scary movies. So let us know which of those are your favorites.
And that's it for this week. You can send us your questions and topics to the email inbox at gamesandnotgames.com. You can follow the podcast version of the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and everywhere else you get your podcast. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to give us that 5-star rating.
And if you're an audio listener, remember you can get the video version over on YouTube at Games and Not Games. If you like the video, be sure to leave a like as it helps us get in front of more people. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Twitter at Games and Not, and everywhere else at Games and Not Games. That's Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Twitch, which we just launched with our first stream. Till next time, gang gang.
Gang gang.
Peace.